it hurts. And I'm too sexy for Milan, too sexy for Milan, New York and Japan.
Hey, welcome back this week, everybody, to Doing It with Styles. I got an interesting guest here today. I asked him to come in for a specific reason. Weather's turning nice. The housing market is starting to do okay. And I asked this gentleman to come in and talk about real estate because he is a real estate agent. And it's Joe Waschuck, right?
Yep,
Joe,
nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate the heck out of it.
Glad for having me.
And I found out that Joe knows real estate. So, how did you get into real estate? What made you think, okay, I want to go sell houses, or you sell houses, right?
Yeah,
you do
sell houses,
residential?
help residential,
Okay.
yeah, residential sell houses, help people list their houses for sale, and we go out and help buyers buy a home.
Great.
So what made me get into real estate is I really like working with people. I enjoy working with people, meeting people, and helping them accomplish their dreams and goals. And anything I can do to help them as far as buying their next house or their first house or their retirement home or their forever home, I like to be part of that process. And I just think that every real estate transaction has a good story to it. And that's what I really like about dealing with this. You get to meet a lot of interesting people.
So the first question that most people ask is, well, why do I need a real estate agent? I mean, I can go look on Zillow or all these places and see all these places for sale.
Right.
And I can just go and call them up and say, hey, I want to buy your house.
Well, you need a real estate agent because, one, you're going to deal with that agent directly who can do that for you, who can send you listings and then let you look and then make your appointments for you, then take you out to go look at the houses and then interact with the other agent as far as is there any offers going on. We could also give you some valid updates in regards to what's going on in today's market. So we can let you know if it's a hot buyer's market, hot seller's market, or is it a neutral market, and we can also tell you what to expect.
Right. There's a lot of construction going on in town right now in the housing market. Is that going to be a good thing for the buyers or the sellers?
I think it's a good thing for the buyers because it's going to give you a lot more inventory to choose from. But it's to each his own. If you want to go with more of a older style home versus a newer style home, then I think it's good for the buyers because it gives you more opportunities to go out and buy, and it gives you more inventory to choose from.
Right, and if you've got more inventory, the prices are going to come down a little bit, right?
Prices will come down a little bit, but you may see the interest rates kind of come up, so they'll kind of fluctuate.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah.
So, okay. So what is something that, assuming that I was going to get ready to buy a house, what's the one thing that I should do initially to make the whole situation better, to have a better experience?
So I would recommend what anybody who wants to buy a house is to get pre-approved. Get all your information, get pre-approved, see what you qualify for, and then work with an agent to set up a search engine that fits your budget. So you may qualify for, say, $500,000.
Right.
But you may want your house payment to be around $1,300. So we'll factor in the
Yeah, good luck with that.
Good luck, right? But that's just a good example. But let's just say $1,300.
Yeah, right.
And we'll factor in your down payment. And then what we'll do is we'll set up a search engine we give you the homes that will fit your budget to where when we go out and look at a home, you'll kind of know the ballpark of what your house payment would be. Say it's going to be around $1,300 to $1,400. Plus, of course, any HOAs and property taxes.
Right.
So it'll fluctuate a little bit, but at least you know your search point, and then it would be up to you to say, I really don't like what I see in this range, so let's maybe bump up the search to say maybe $350,000 to $450,000.
Right.
But you know your budget, and you go, I can go up another $500. So then
Right.
you kind of then go up a little bit. So you can kind of see the difference between, say, a house for $350,000 and a house for $400,000,
Right.
and see what you can get.
So one of the things that I've noticed is that you can have two houses that are comparable, right? Same price, but you look at, they're saying the monthly payment on this house is going to be this.
Right.
And this one is going to be different. Where does that difference come from? What is going to affect your monthly payment on that house?
So the thing it could be the HOAs.
Right.
You could have an HOA that's $350 versus an HOA that's $75.
Right.
So,
or no HOA at all.
Or no HOA at all. So
Right.
those are the things that as a realtor we'll be able to look at and see and go, yeah, here's why your price difference is going to be a little bit different, is because this HOA is a little bit more expensive than this HOA. But here's what you get with this HOA HOA, and now is it really worth you wanting to go for that house? So
Right.
it just depends on the small cost inside.
What from a realtor's perspective, is there an advantage or disadvantage to buying a home within an HOA?
The advantage of buying, there's really no advantage. It just depends what your preference is. I have a home with no HOA in a neighborhood's clean, so you can kind of say you run the risk of somebody like parking their car. If you don't have an HOA, they can park their car, say, on their lawn.
Right.
To where on an HOA, there's restrictions.
Right.
One of the things is a lot of people own RVs here. So if you have an HOA, you may have to put your RV in a storage.
Gotcha.
So a lot of folks, where I'm at, we don't have HOA, so we have garage, RV ports for our RVs. So
Okay.
it just depends. But when you go into HOAs, you're going to have restrictions.
Gotcha.
So that's,
And a lot of them, I've been in construction most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I built single family, multifamily, I built resorts, all of that. And I've seen some horror stories with HOAs and have been on the, have had to go in and give depositions regarding some of the things. So is there a way to, or is something, I found a house that's the perfect house, it's the one I want. However, it's in an HOA and I have a nasty taste in my mouth about HOAs.
Right.
Is there anything that I can do to make sure that there's no negative effect to me?
right.
I know that some of this stuff is just off the wall,
Right.
but that's what people think about when they're...
Right. So, for example, in a community that has HOAs, what I like to do is drive around the neighborhood
Right.
to see if everybody's keeping their house clean.
Right.
And knowing the HOA standards, like no weeds in the area, you can't change your rocks, you can't paint your house an ugly color. If you're driving through the neighborhood and you see everything immaculate, that tells you that the HOAs are being enforced.
Right.
If you go through and you start seeing weeds and houses not kept up, then you want to maybe contact the HOA area office and say, hey, I noticed this. Are you guys enforcing your HOAs?
Right.
And if they're like, well, no, we're not, or yeah, we are, but do you have something to report? Then you can kind of report it. But you can kind of hold them accountable by going through the neighborhood and then asking those questions, because at least you raise the awareness of what you're doing.
Well, and supposedly the HOAs are supposed to be members from the community, but there are a lot of property management
Right.
HOAs.
Right. So you want to meet with the property manager as well. Like
Right.
as a realtor, I would go in and meet with them and say, hey, I'm taking a client through your neighborhood, and you guys are supposed to enforce these HOA rules.
Right.
And I'm seeing rule A, and B, and C not being enforced. Why is that?
Right.
Now they can say, hey, we did it. We did go ahead and submit this to the owner of that house. They have 30 days to clean it up. If not, we're going to clean it up, and there may be a fine to that.
Right.
But how long? But it shouldn't take 30 days, right? So then you got to say, if I buy in this area, do I want to deal with that?
Well, I thought legally, don't they have to give you a certain amount of time if they, and then you can appeal that.
Yeah.
So, it could be 30 days before something gets resolved.
It could be 30 days for something to get resolved.
And that may not necessarily be the HOA's fault.
Right, because there could be an appeal process going on, and then it may get extended another 30 days or 45 days, and until finally someone makes a ruling on it and says this has to be done.
Okay.
So it's just ideally, too, that as a realtor, what I usually like to do is get the Common Interest Community booklet and kind of see what's in there, and then let the client know that, hey, here's what the guidelines you're going to have to go through. Do you want to go through that? And there may be things in there that they have that you may not like.
Right.
So then that would tell you, then let's not look in that area, let's go look in another area.
Gotcha.
So it's just all a preference. I prefer homes with no HOAs. 'Cause
I do too.
I want to know where my money's going, and I want my money's worth, and I don't like other people controlling it.
Right, exactly.
So, and it's almost like they're telling
Because
you
if I want to paint my house, I'm going to paint my house.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I understand why the HOAs, and it's to maintain a certain standard within that area. But unfortunately, the HOA involves people.
Right.
Sorry, folks.
That's right. You're involved. It involves people. Also involves behaviors behind those people.
Right.
What is their behavior? Some
Right.
HOAs are pretty aggressive. Some HOAs are kind of laid back. But you just have to kind of is it your cup of
And
tea?
some aren't that ethical either.
No, some are not.
Yeah.
So it just depends on. That's why I like to talk to the folks and say, hey, and get that relationship. Maybe stop by their office and get to ask them questions about the neighborhood, and then just see, just kind of get a feel, because if you ask them about a house, it's not so well kept up, they should know about it. They'd be, oh yeah, well, we have something going on that, but they won't tell you the information on everything. 'Cause it's confidential, right? But you can point things out to them and then get a feel for how often do you guys survey your area? How often do you get complaints? You could ask some questions and then see what answers you get.
Yeah. So you mentioned get pre-qualified. So there's a lot of mortgage bankers, lenders, banks out there. Are you better off going to a mortgage banker, a bank, a lending company, or does it matter?
It's again, to me, it's your own preference.
Okay.
You could use a credit union. You could use a bank. Obviously, I usually go through mortgage companies.
Right.
And I usually get 2 estimates. I get pre-approved twice to see who offers the best deal.
Okay.
So I always recommend that. You never.
Does that not affect your credit, or? If you have gone to a lender to get pre-qualified and they're going to pull up all your stuff on your credit report,
it hits it.
And then you go to another lender.
Yeah, it'll hit it a little bit. It won't damage you, but it'll show. But to me,
it'll just show inquiries.
Show inquiries. Okay. So versus you overly spending and so on and so forth. So if they're inquiring, to me, and you're trying to buy a house, it's not going to hurt you.
Right.
It's just showing inquiries, which is okay.
But the second inquiry is going to show the first inquiry.
Yeah.
So the second lender that you go to is going to know that you've already been to one.
Right. But what I like to look at is what programs do you offer.
Gotcha.
So there could be one program that you go, wow, I really like this one, but then the next program you get that information back, and they may have a better opportunity for you. So then you get to look at your credit score, what do you qualify for, and then how much do you qualify for, and then that's when it comes down to really the numbers of the buyer saying, I really want my payment here, so this is what I want to shop for.
Right.
So then you can set your search engine up according to. So you don't have to necessarily blow your whole wad when you get pre-approved.
Sure.
It's up to you to say, this is what I want to look at, and that's what your realtor has to understand. And I always tell my clients, you don't want to blow your whole wad, but I'm here to do whatever you want me to do.
Right.
But if you have a budget, let's work within your budget.
Right.
And that's what I tell everybody.
So what about, new homes? Usually the builder usually has, different programs available, or specials, or, we'll give you free flooring, or, stuff like that. Do you find that the builders here will work with outside agents, or is what they're offering in most cases worth it?
Yeah, sometimes it is. It just depends on the grade of the material.
Okay.
Because sometimes when you go into model home, you go, wow, this looks great.
Right.
But that's the highest grade, because they're gonna really make that thing look good. So when you go back through, and they'll say, well, yeah, but that's all the upgrades. But you go out to another home, it's like, here's just the bare minimum.
Right.
So if you want certain baseboard, you want crown molding, you want the landscape, here's how much it's all going to cost.
Right.
Then you, as a realtor, the advantage of having us, we can go in and still negotiate for you. In fact, I always tell any client that when you go through, don't sign anything. Because once you sign, you were kind of waiving your right to a realtor.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know that. They just think you're
Really?
signing. Yeah, a lot of people think I'm just signing, and then I'm going to go through and tour, and they'll tell you, well, you're just saying you're on site. We're doing it to keep track. But I always tell them, just give them my business card, and then have them call me.
Right.
So, or I'll check my clients. But then I like to get the packages and say, okay, how much are the upgrades, and then what levels are there? And what they do is, the more complicated they are, the bigger they are, they kind of sell them in packages. So this one's going to cost you extra $50,000. This one's going to cost you $25,000, but this one's only going to cost you $10,000. Right. But you're going to get the high end stuff is what you want. But can you get that at the middle range price?
Right. Exactly.
And that's where we come in at. We can sit down and talk. They're usually more than willing to work with us.
Yeah, well, they want to sell houses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market right now?
So right now it's a neutral market.
Is it?
It's a neutral market. It's kind of a neutral market where it's a lot of give and take.
Gotcha.
As everybody knows, the pandemic, everything was just blowing up, right? And so then we expected the inventory to get a little bit bigger. Right now it's about 2.5 to 3 months. average homes sitting on the market, depending on the price. So the higher the price of the house, usually it's on the market a little longer, but they're close to 30 days or over.
Right.
If I was buying now, I would tell my realtor to target the houses that's been on the market for a while. And
That makes the most sense, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
And then if they're stubborn, well, now you know why the house has been on the market for so long.
Exactly.
So, and that's the other side of it, is if sellers are kind of still living in the past, they want to tell you the story about, well, my neighbors sold his house for $50,000 over, got in a bidding war. It's not a bidding war. Right now it's neutral. So it's, a buyer may submit an offer to say you play the closing costs, but chances are you're going to get a counter back that says we'll split it with you. So you got to learn to compromise.
Right.
And that's the part where everybody has to understand, is that if it's a market like it is now, there's going to be a lot of compromising. If the market, the bigger the inventory, it's better for the buyers.
Of course.
Less inventory. I say we get below 2 months or so, about a month, then that's when it becomes a little bit more of a bidding war. But right now, with the interest rates kind of high still, the buyers are kind of still on the fence a little bit, and that's why homes are out there a little longer.
A couple of years back, we had a lot of people coming in with cash, buying homes.
Yep.
Are we still looking at that? I mean, where you'd go and you may make an offer on a house and you find out, somebody has made a cash offer for a little bit more, or even for the same price.
Right.
But
yeah, there's not as much as that.
Okay.
It's not as aggressive, right?
Okay.
You still get the California folks. You may get some folks from the East Coast coming in with some cash.
I was talking more about there are big companies that are coming in and
it's not as much.
Okay.
But I still get text messages about folks wanting to buy houses, asking me if I have listings because they want to make cash offers. But sometimes cash offers, they may offer it, but then they got time to come in and fly in and look in the area, and they can always pull their offer off the table. But that's the advantage of having a realtor going in and working with the other agent and building a relationship, because sometimes you can beat a cash offer. Cash offer, they're great, but sometimes a relationship between one realtor and a client that's trying to buy and a realtor and a client that's trying to sell, if you can kind of get a good relationship there, you can get a deal done.
I had a friend here 2 or 3 years ago, well, just as the pandemic was starting, and they owned a couple of houses that were rental houses and in nice areas, and they had one of these companies, like, hey, we'll buy your house, you don't have to worry about anything, we'll just pay it, right off, and I don't remember their names. So they made an offer on the house, and they, signed all the paperwork, and then a few days later they came back and said, "Oh, well, wait a minute, we didn't realize this was in a 55 and over community."
Right.
If my friends had not had a good real estate agent, they would have been screwed.
Right.
Because that agent took it to the carpet and made them, listen. That's your problem, you screwed up.
Right.
If you didn't do your due diligence, but, here's the paperwork's all been signed, the money's in escrow, so you're SOL.
Right.
So.
That's why having a realtor is good, because we're with you through every step of the way.
Right.
We're understanding everything that's going on, and once you get the earnest money deposit going, the home inspection, you get everything going in line, there's that point where it's kind of like, sorry, we're too late.
Too late now.
If it benefits our client, then it's like, hey, we got to protect our client. That's what having us is a good thing for.
Yeah. Do you work with veterans and FHA and here's a question I'll ask you. So veterans in Nevada get certain tax breaks on their property. How does that work? What I mean, is it their assessment, their property tax assessments are reduced, or if their tax is $1,000, they're only paying $500 or something like that? Or
so that kind of gets done behind the scenes. So once the veteran takes over their home, and they have their loan in place and everything, then there's certain discounts that will happen behind the scenes, and they could also inquire about that once they get into their home. They could work with their lender to say, hey, am I still going to get these discounts, and so on and so forth. The VA loans they're great loans. And you usually get a lesser interest rate,
and zero down,
and in most cases zero down.
Right.
Your credit score still plays a role in everything, of course. And then there's zero down. There's no pre-mortgage insurance.
There's no what?
Pre-mortgage insurance, PMI.
Really?
Yeah. So I've seen.
So that's going to reduce your monthly payment.
Yes, it does.
Wow.
Yes,
and that can be significant. That could be a couple $100 a month.
That could be significant. Absolutely, it can be. So, and you could also pay off your loan without any penalty. So. There's a lot of benefits to that. But again, this is why I always tell folks, go in and get pre-approved.
So if you go out here and hit megabucks, you could go pay your loan off.
Go pay that bad boy off.
Don't try that. It doesn't work.
Don't go to the casino and try to win your money. Pay your house payment first.
I want to put $50,000 on 35 black.
There you go. Yeah, but I always tell people, pay your house payment first, then go down.
Yeah.
Play the penny machine at maybe $10. If you hit it, great. If you don't, just leave. House money always wins, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it's
Look, you look around at these casinos; they weren't built on people winning a huge amount of money.
Right.
So
that's why there's always one pitcher for about every 3 or 4 months.
Yep.
They want you to believe that everybody wins,
Yeah.
and not everybody wins. You do win though when you do buy your home. So
anyway,
that's how I look at it.
So, what's your favorite part of the job of being an agent?
Favorite part of the job is meeting everybody. Just meeting the folks that I've met, understanding where they want to go, where are they from, just hearing their stories. It's fascinating. A lot of folks from the military are here. You meet folks that come from California, you meet folks from Texas. You know, it's a great place to meet people, but it's just hearing how everybody kind of made it to Vegas, hearing their stories. I just love sitting down talking with folks and just hearing their stories and what their interests are. And that's the favorite part about it, because when my fiance and we go out, we're always talking to folks, and they're like, "Hey, are you guys local?" "Oh yeah, we're here. How long you been here?" And that just kind of starts a conversation. So I just love meeting people and just talking with them. I just think that meeting people just only enriches your life. And it also enriches theirs, but you just having that conversation and understanding where they're at, where they're going, and just sharing some stories. I think it's just great. Where you're talking about the kids, or you're talking about your trip, or you're just talking about living here in Vegas.
Yeah,
I think it's
or their car broke down, they couldn't afford to leave, right?
Their car broke down, they couldn't afford to leave, so they bought a house here or something. So, but I just think just meeting people, it's all about the people. In this business. And
the one thing that I've always liked, I mean, I lived here as a kid, moved away, and then came back, and I've been here 20-something years again this time. And as big as the town has gotten, it's still a small town.
Right.
There's some, if you stay out of the casinos and out of that, there's great shows, great restaurants.
Yep.
There's always something to do.
Yep.
You can go shopping at 3 o'clock in the morning if you need to.
Right.
I don't, but you can if you want.
Yeah, you can if you want. Yeah.
And so it is a great place, and I've seen it grow, and it's just, there's some great people here. There really are.
There's great people here. Yeah.
And most of us have come from someplace else. Every once in a while, you will meet a native, and they're out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them there, and especially now the younger people. I mean, there's a lot of kids that in the last 10, 15 years. So
Well, here's the one thing that when I came to Vegas that I really found out. One is that there's great people here, but you're also centrally located to where you can drive a couple hours up the road, you're at Disneyland.
Yeah.
You can go 3 hours to Bryan Head and go skiing.
Yeah.
Or you can go hiking.
Or you can go out to Lake Mead.
Or you can go out to Lake Mead.
Yeah.
You can go out to Lake Mead. You got Mount Charleston.
Yep.
They got great hiking area. the Red
Red Rocks.
Yep. Great hikes. They have a lot of places here that you can go do besides just go to the casinos and everything. The shows are amazing. I've seen a handful of entertainers. I mean, I've seen Luke Bryan, Katy Perry, Bruno Mars.
Oh, wow.
We just saw Gabriel Iglesias the other night.
No kidding.
At the Cosmo. So you can see all the headliner acts here, so you don't really have to go out to Hollywood or anywhere and travel away to see them.
They come here.
They come here.
Yeah.
So it's a great place for entertainment. It's a great place to meet people, and you can't go wrong in Vegas. Vegas is a great place.
Okay, now I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
What do you really hate about what you do? What's the one thing that you go, not today?
So there's always good and bad, right?
Sure, of course.
So the one thing I don't like about real estate is you get a lot of people that I think they want to talk it. Oh yeah, I'm ready, and they want to give you information, and then it's wrong. Really, the right thing to do is if you're just not interested, just simply say, hey,
say so.
I'm not interested, but we should still have a conversation.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be about real estate. We just talk about anything. But a lot of folks, they're kind of on the fence. Well, I'm waiting for the prices to go down. So when the prices do go down, I can call that same person, and I won't call him unless he says, hey, give me a call on this date and time. So I don't poach people. I don't always call them.
Right.
But if he says, yeah, give me a call in 30 days. So then, it's like, well, I'm waiting for the price to go down. So, hey, well, the prices went down. Yeah, but now the interest rate went up. So I told him, I said, it's like a storm. Which one do you want to deal with? So, and it's not that bad, even if your interest rate goes up a little bit, because that's where you go see your tax person.
But the interest rate can also go down, and then you can refinance.
Right, you can refinance.
But if your prices of your houses keep going up,
right,
that's a little more difficult to deal with.
Yes, but you could always ask your realtor, can you send me a market report, and just say, hey, then I can give you a call in 2 months, and we'll
Okay.
send you a market
So
report.
what is a market report?
It'll tell you what the homes are going for in the area that you're looking for.
Okay.
It could tell you how long the homes have been on market. It could tell you the average price, the medium. It could tell you the average that's been on the market. So it gives you the numbers that you want to see, and you could also break it down by price range. So you'll have to filter it out. So if you were looking for a house for $350,000 to $400,000, you could filter it out, and it'll break down days on the market, pretty much the days on the market. And then it'll break down the interest rates. Sometimes it'll tell you like the average interest rate for the year. It'll tell you all kinds of stuff. There's just a lot of data.
Because the
on
interest rates are running, what, about 6% now?
About that, yeah. So you can. I usually go online and look at different banks and see what
Right.
they have to offer. But on the home, it'll show you the condos, the townhouses, so you can kind of break everything
Right.
down. And then it just depends on your interest on where do you want to go.
Gotcha.
So you may go 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, 450. 3-bedroom condo on a golf course,
Right.
100,000. Just depends on where your
Right.
interest
Or
is at.
I got to have a garage, you
Right.
know?
You
So
gotta
that
have a
kind of thing,
garage.
yeah.
Yeah. So and then so you can kind of watch it and see, and then I can always call them up and say, hey, let's walk through it so you understand it. So when you put everything in front, and you don't have to look at the whole thing, but what interests you? Prices, days on the market,
Right.
and then are the prices going up and down, and we can help with that.
And I think, my opinion, you may disagree with this, but I think that most people are more concerned with what are my monthly payments going to be
Right.
than how much is the house,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, so that goes part of getting pre-approved,
Right.
and then telling your lender this is the money I have to go down, and then you say, well, I want my house payment to be $1,500. They'll say, okay, you need to search in this area,
Right.
and then that will put your money down, and then when you search in this area with your down payment, this is what your mortgage will be. So then this way, when you get me with your realtor, because I'll get a pre-approval letter that you're pre-approved,
Right.
and I'll get everything set up for you, then you can go, okay, this is the area we're going to look at, and this is the price range.
Right.
And I just set up, and it just comes to you in an email, and then you see something, I'll say, hey, pick your top 3 houses you want to go look at that you think you would put an offer on.
Right.
And if we go look at all 3, and you just say, look nice on the computer, but
Yeah,
not what I'm looking
yeah.
for, then we go back, and you just start over, and then until you get it right.
We're gonna take a short break here. I got to pay some bills,
Got it.
and then we'll come back. So bear with us. Pay attention to the commercials, and then come back, and we'll get into some of the good stuff. So we'll be back.
Anxiety, depression, PTSD, ADHD, pain, inflammation, dealing with mental or physical health issues, or know someone who is? Relax, refresh, recover, revive. Natural health alternatives using hemp-derived CBD and other cannabinoids found in hemp are increasingly becoming more effective in managing various symptoms that affect your body, state of mind, and daily life. Planet Harvest Health's mission is to help those looking for natural, new, and better solutions for a healthier way of life, specializing in small batch, handcrafted alternatives, providing higher quality and a cost-effective product. Go to planetharvesthealth.com for more information and education on how we can help you.
Looking for a home in Las Vegas? Well, you're in luck. Hi, my name is Joe Waschuck. I'm a realtor with Century 21 Gavish Real Estate here in Las Vegas. And I'm here to let you know that buying a home as a veteran can be easier than you think. Here's what I could do for you. Assist you in finding a VA-approved lender. After you've been approved, I can set you up to find your dream home with an automated search, and I will make your appointments for you. To ensure you have a smooth closing on your home, I will help you from start to finish. Please contact me for a free consultation at 925-334-2419. Let's build your wealth one home at a time. I'm Joe, and I know.
See, told you we'd be back. Wasn't that long, huh? Did you all get to go to the bathroom and all that good stuff? Get a snack, something like that? All right. So I'm back here with Joe because Joe knows real estate, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. You were talking about the market report,
Yeah.
and what was contained in the market report,
Right.
and it was like
Yeah, it'll show you the days,
how long it's been on the house.
how long it's been on the market, how long it's been on the market, and it'll show you a price trend where the prices are going up or down.
Right.
Okay, and then it would break down basically by condos, townhouses, and single-family residents. So that's what will be on your report. The interest rate won't be on the report. It's those factors that will be on
Right,
the
yeah.
report.
Well, because the interest rate seriously can change from day to day and
that
lender to
change-
lender,
yeah,
right?
that changes day to day, lender to lender, depending on the program.
Yeah. So, what is it? Zillow, is out there.
Yep.
Is that valuable to a buyer? Whether or not, if you have a real estate agent and you've done a little bit of homework and say, okay, I like the houses in these areas. I see the prices are about in this area,
Right.
and I come to you and say, hey, I want to buy a house over in Los Prados. I like that area over there. They got a gated community, an HOA, blah, blah, blah. They got the golf course and all that stuff. And I've looked at this house on Zillow. Is that valuable to you? Does it help you at all? Or does it make your job tougher because the information isn't necessarily the best?
Yeah, so with Zillow, you'll see an MLS number on there, right? Which is
Right.
generated through our MLS system, right?
The multiple listing system,
Yeah, multiple listing system. So basically, we could set up that search for you to save you time to even go to Zillow.
Gotcha.
Okay, and then what happens is people go to Zillow, then they start logging in their information. You'll probably get a call from one of the Zillow reps or the agent that's assigned to that particular property.
Gotcha.
And then it's like they'll call you, and then you'll start conversating with them, but you may not meet them, right?
Right.
So, but that's why when you meet with your realtor, and if you have a realtor, we will set you up with a search in a specific area for you and simplify your search. It'll just come to you in an email, and it'll save you a lot of surfing time on the.
Do you have an area, or does an agent, in general? I'm not, just as a general rule. Do you specialize in certain areas, or maybe I know this area really well and this area really well, this area not so much, but
yeah. So basically we don't specialize in certain areas. For me, I'll go to Pahrump, I'll go to Henderson, and Las Vegas area.
All
so
right.
It depends. Whatever my client's qualified for, whatever they're pre-approved for, that's what we'll search.
Gotcha.
And if they want to live in Pahrump, then we'll set the search up for Pahrump. If they want to live in Summerlin, we'll set up the search in Summerlin. If they wanted a certain development, we'll set it up in that city and that certain development.
Gotcha.
There's really no specialty where I specialize in condos or specialize in townhouses. We specialize in single family residence and condos, townhouses, etc.
So if I was going to buy a house and I wanted to pre-qualify, would I be better off contacting an agent before I go to a mortgage broker or a lender? Can you help a client with that?
Yes.
Okay.
So
because you probably have certain mortgage bankers or title companies or lenders that you deal with that you have a good rapport with that
Right.
maybe you can get a deal that I couldn't get going to them cold.
Right. Yeah. So I would do is we were talking and you said, hey, I want to buy a house, but I'm not sure what I'm pre-approved for. Do you have a recommendation or a referral? I said, I can give you 2 referrals. Give them a call, and then talk to them, and they'll tell you exactly what you need. Give them the material, and then they will get you pre-approved, and then they'll send you a letter,
Right.
and then we know what you're pre-approved for. So the nice thing about having a realtor is we're going to send you to folks that are licensed, that specialize in stuff, versus you talking to somebody and then going to get a friend that's going to front money. You
Right.
don't want to do that. So we're going to channel you to the right people.
Gotcha.
And then, like I said, you meet, and then if you say you happen to be with a credit union, you could always, when you're in your credit, you could say, I got pre-approved, but can you guys let me see what your programs are.
Right.
And you can ask them, just give me a flyer. I want to see what you have to offer before
Right.
you even go through pre-approval. And then you can kind of look at what you're pre-approved for and what this place offers, and is it even worth you going in for just a second opinion. So I would recommend going to your realtor and then letting them channel you to a couple of loan officers for you to go through.
Okay. What's the mistake that you see? The biggest mistake that you see people making when they come to you, and say, hey, I want to buy a house, or I found this house, or whatever. Is there something that you go, oh God, I wish you'd have got to me earlier, before you did that?
When someone comes to me and says, man, I want to go buy this house, the first thing I'm asking is, are you pre-approved?
Yeah.
And a lot of people are not pre-approved.
Right.
And they're like, well, I like to go see what's out there first. But if you're pre-approved, you can go out there and see it and react.
Well, and if you're pre-approved and you go and you show an interest in the house, the person or agent or whoever that's selling the house is going to go, oh, well, I don't have to worry about that then because they've already been approved, right?
Right. So, but if you go out there, because someone might see a house, say, I really want to go see that house. That's fine. But we're asking for the pre-approval letter because we need to know, do you even approve for that house?
Right. Well, and also by the time you get that approval, that house may be gone.
Right. Exactly. So there could be 2 offers on it, and you're coming in late in the game.
Yeah.
So people who do that only do themselves a disservice.
Right.
And I always tell them, get pre-approved first. then we can go out and shop, because now you know what you're pre-approved for, and you have some buying power. Right now, when you don't have a pre-approval letter, you really don't have any buying power.
Yeah.
So then you got to go back and get pre-approved. And getting pre-approved, it's painless, it's easy, it's free.
Yeah.
Everybody likes the word free. I like free. So sometimes I'll get pre-approved just to see what I qualify at and see if I want to go buy something else. That's what I recommend everybody else to do.
So I mean, are you suggesting that, listen, I think I want to buy a house next year, that I should get a hold of a real estate agent now?
You can.
Okay, and
Yeah.
say, hey, listen, I want to buy a house, not till next year, maybe. What should I do? Or can you hook me up? Or I mean, you as an agent are certainly taking a chance, because you're going to help them out. They may or may not use you as an agent.
Right.
I mean, chances are they probably will.
Right.
But I guess what I'm asking is there a point where it's too early to get a real estate agent involved in your consideration or decision to buy a home?
It's never too early to get a real estate agent involved. In fact, I had my last realtor I used when I moved out here. I'd been here for 5 years. I mean, I was talking for 5 years. The main thing is to have a plan. And if you're looking to buy, and say a year from now, as a realtor, I'm going to ask, why are you waiting a year?
Right.
And you may say, well, I'm waiting for my lease up on my current property that I'm renting. And I'll say, okay, so what you'd want to do is let's stay in touch. But in the meantime, I can send you a market report so you can kind of see how the market's going. Or why don't we touch base every 2 months by phone call? And as you get within that 90-day window, that's when you want to get pre-approved.
Okay.
Because your pre-approval letter is usually good for about 90 days.
Oh, and I was just going to ask you that. So that's an average, or
That's about an average.
pretty standard.
Pretty standard is 90 days.
So if I'm going to go get pre-approved, I want to make sure that I'm ready to buy a house within that 90 days.
Right.
Because if I go past that, then you have to go through the process all over again.
That
makes sense.
Again. But I always tell folks, we know your timeline. So if you get within 90 days and say December 31st, you're going to be moving out of that place, that's going to be your last day in your rental.
Right.
You want to start, like in October, start looking, right?
Yeah.
And then you want to start shopping. But you got to remember, on the back end of this, you may get into, you want to close at least 2 weeks before your lease is up.
Yeah.
So this way,
because you want keys in your hand.
You want keys in your hands. But the nice thing is that if you do it right, you could have 2 weeks to gradually move your stuff, versus we're closing the same day I got to move out. I need my van. I need people to help me. And then it becomes a mess for you, right?
Yeah.
You want to just gradually do it where I got 2 weeks to move out of my place, so then you can methodically move things over in a cost-effective way, but you're not so much rushed to get everything done.
So there's a lot of people nowadays that have some credit issues.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the stumbling blocks, or what are things that you can do, a buyer can do to kind of, maybe they've had, with the pandemic, a lot of people out of work, a lot of people, businesses. I know our business got kicked in the butt. We were closed for 4 months. That didn't help.
Right, yeah.
So what can they do to help themselves, buy a home?
So you can start looking at bills that you need to pay off. So
Right.
if you have, say, one, you could probably roll your bills into one, or consolidate some bills
Right.
for one payment. Two, if you have a bunch of small ones, take the smaller ones and get those paid off. And then this way you can kind of get the debt to income ratio as zeroed out as possible, because you don't really want to have a lot of debt.
Right.
The other thing you can do is, when you get pre-approved, if you want to get pre-approved, to say, hey, let me see where I'm at now.
Right.
It's free, right? So you go in and say, look, I want to get pre-approved to see where I'm at now, and if I'm not happy with my credit score, then I need to know what I need to clean up. So
Will they even consider you if you don't? I mean,
they can, but you may just get a higher interest rate than what's out there.
Right.
Okay. Or you may need a cosigner. So
Yeah.
there's some things in there that they'll help you with, but it just depends on your credit score.
okay. So what if you got a credit score of like, so what's a good one? 600 or 700?
I'd say at least 650 or
Okay.
above.
So if I got a credit score of 450 or 550 or something like that,
Right.
I shouldn't even bother.
I would say you never bother. I would simply just say, with my credit score the way it is, what's the best way for me to get into
Gotcha.
a house? And you may say, I don't like that risk. And then your next question could be so how much of this do I need to clean up to raise my credit score?
Gotcha.
And then you kind of then set up your plan to go, okay, so having a year away buying something is good. So now you can make use of that time to go, you know what, I'm going to pay off these bills,
Right.
get pre-approved again, and now what I'll do is be able to go out and buy a house because I should have a little bit better interest rate and a better credit score.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense.
And the nice thing about the interest rates is, I know everybody's looking for the lowest, not the highest, but interest rate is a tax write-off for you too. So the interest you pay on your mortgage is a tax write-off. So don't necessarily always be afraid of the interest rate.
Gotcha.
You could always, the main thing is get in the house.
Right.
You could always refinance. The market goes up and down. Okay, you're paying your own mortgage, you're building your wealth, and sometimes you end up with enough equity where you don't even have to pay to refinance. Sometimes your equity will help you with it, or you may be able to qualify for a free refinancing. It just depends on the program you go under.
Right. So, and that reminded me of something else 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, if it's been that long, when the market just crashed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody got into these houses. They were making $15 an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and they were getting into $400,000 and $500,000 homes.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you know.
Yep.
So, and as a buyer, you don't know. Well, you can see trends.
Right.
You know, prices are coming down a little bit. You know, okay, new construction prices are coming down. Should I buy a house now?
Right.
And then a year from now or 2 years from now, it's not going to be worth as much. So
Right.
there goes my equity. Or, you know, how do you navigate that?
So the market's always going to go in circles.
Sure.
A little bit. So sometimes you'll go in and go, wow, I got all this equity, right? And then next thing you know, it's like, wow, the market's not doing so well
Yeah.
now, so I'm kind of under blow. But the
Right.
thing is, it only impacts you really if you're planning on selling your house. If you're underwater because the market's so bad, you
Right.
don't want to sell.
Right.
Right. So the main thing is that's why market reports are always good. Even when you own a home, you always want to get a report that tells you what your home's worth.
Gotcha.
And always stay in touch with the realtor and say, hey, you know, I'm first year in my house. Am I seeing this report right? Help me understand it. And say, yeah, you got some equity. Or it's like, no, it's a tough market right now.
Yeah.
Don't worry about your equity because you're not selling anything. So I wouldn't, to me, don't be afraid of that if you go a little bit underwater a little bit because you're not selling. Let the equity just kind of work itself.
Because and it has. I mean, you can see where it's bounced back. I mean,
Yep. And I had a house in California when the market crashed. And at the time, I paid $700,000 for it. I put down 25%. At one time, my house was worth. I was underwater on. There was no equity in it. So they just said there's nothing you could do really. So just
Right.
let the market work its way back up.
Yeah.
But the main thing is I kept the debt to income ratio reasonable for me to where I didn't handcuff myself.
Right.
And the other thing is it sometimes you could ask your lender too is, if the prices are dropping, can I get my property taxes reassessed to match the current value of the home? Sometimes you could do that. So I did that when I was in California. They would reduce my house payment.
Can you request that your property be reevaluated?
You can, yeah, you can. And then so
But
you could.
not necessarily. They won't. The assessor's not necessarily going to do it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, because if it goes way below value, they're going to drop your taxes, right?
Right.
So why would they do that?
Yeah.
But you can make the request to see.
Sure.
But sometimes they won't do it. It just depends. California, they just do it. You know?
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where you just watch the market. So when you buy your first house, or anytime you own a home, you want a market report come to you once a month.
Gotcha.
Just to show the value of your house. And sometimes it'll say it's a warm market, or if you sold your house, if you rented your house, it'll give you little steps that you can kind of just read. And if there's something you don't understand, that's when you call your realtor up and say, hey, can you help me understand this report a little bit? And then we'll help you understand a little bit.
That's another thing too, where you talked about rentals, renting your house out. You know, rental prices have just gone through the roof.
They have.
I mean, has that affected? Excuse me. Has that affected people wanting to buy a home, or has that?
Yeah, right. So I know what you're saying. So the price of rent. So in
Excuse
most
me.
cases, that's okay. If you look at your rent property, if you're paying rent, say you're paying rent for $2,500, and you kind of want to go, okay, what can I get with my credit score? What would I qualify for, and what can I get?
Right.
And if my payment was what my rent is it worth me going to buy a house? And to me, in most cases, it should be, because you should want to.
Well, if you're renting and you're paying that anyway,
You're paying that
you
anyway.
might as well get something for
Right,
it.
and
you know?
sometimes some people don't. Sometimes a lot of folks want to see it just the easy way, because it's easier to, well, something wrong with my house. I don't have to go to Lowe's. I'll just call the property manager.
Right.
But what you fail to realize is that when you got to call the property manager because there's something wrong with the house, you got to get the toilets replaced, you got to get something done. That cost goes into operating expense, and then at the end of the year, that's usually when you get the love letter of your rent's going to go up $50. So the back end of that is more money you're going to end up paying
Right.
out. Not only that.
See, I wouldn't worry about that. I've been in construction, so
Right.
there's not too much I couldn't fix myself,
Right.
except a roof or
Right, but
air
if you're
conditioner or
renting,
something.
your
Right.
hands are restricted because you can't just take someone's property. You're
Exactly.
renting it. You're not owning
Exactly.
it. So if you own property, then you can go out and do your own thing to your property. You could replace your toilets. You can do whatever you need to do when that time comes, or you could choose to hire it out. Whatever you need to do. But the thing is that rent and mortgage, you got to decide: do you want to pay your rent? And
Or do you want to buy a house for somebody else?
Or you want to buy a house for somebody else. So basically, if you're paying rent, you're paying for someone else's property, you're paying their mortgage, and every time you make a payment, they're getting more equity. If you own a house, every time you make a payment, you get more equity. So you got to decide what avenue you want to go down. And
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you, if you owning a home is the way to go.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I have a rental property here, and it's kind of like, it's one of those things where it does great for me. I'm hoping the folks, they want to stay in there another year.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is that each year rent's going to go up. The average rent goes up in Clark County 6%. So sometimes you see people on TV going, well, my rent keeps going up. Well, are you looking to buy a house?
Yeah.
But part of this comes into play of planning. You have to look at halfway through your lease, do I want to keep paying this rent, or do I want to get my own mortgage and build my own wealth? And if you
But
want to get
I think there's a lot of talk about millennials and younger people that really can't afford to buy a
Right.
house. They can't qualify.
Right.
They're not making the money. So they're screwed.
they're screwed a little bit, but they have to go out. First, they got to go out and establish themselves like everybody else
Right.
have to, right?
Sure.
So a lot of folks now, the times have changed. So you got a lot of folks coming out of college with college debt.
Right.
You didn't have that 30 years ago or so, right? So now you got college debt. You got some folks, now you got married couples that both now have college debts. So they're paying that, and then they're paying rent.
Yeah.
But now you got to get the income now, right? So you got to get your job. So what do you want your career to be? So some folks, what they have to do, a lot of folks have to understand is that when you go for your jobs, right, it's like going for a house. You got to start somewhere.
Right.
So a lot of people are trying to shoot too high too fast.
Of course.
So what you got to do is you got to kind of say, look, maybe a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. I started in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. Not the most popular, but it's still mortgage. It's yours, right?
Right.
So you're buying it. So maybe you got to kind of bring down your taste a little bit and go, I'm going to start here and try to get a house. A lot of times when you see the millennials on TV, you'll hear them, I'm getting outbidded. I can't get into a house. So, well, it may be true. But what price range are you looking at? Are you willing to go down?
Right.
Okay, why are you trying to climb so fast?
Right.
So when you try to climb
Because
too fast,
once you get into a house
Right.
and you've got some equity into it,
Right.
then you can make that next step up.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I mean, look, there was tons of people doing that in California
Yep.
years ago.
Yep.
And that's what they were doing. They were getting the house, getting some equity, turning it into, getting to a bigger one, getting to a bigger one,
That's right.
and then it crashed.
Yeah, and then it crashed. But if you were smart,
If you were smart,
if
right.
you so it crashed. But where a lot of people got in trouble is they get these flyers in the mail saying you should take out all your equity, take that dream vacation. Never do that.
Yeah.
Never do that. Never do that. Leave your equity be, because that's your segue to your next house, or your segue when you buy down. That's more equity in your pocket, which now it's more powerful than a 401k.
Yeah.
It's part, you get to put that money in your account, and you buy a smaller house because you raised all your kids. It's just you and the wife, or just you. Now your lifestyle changes, but you don't need as much.
Right.
But you have a lot of equity, so now you put a little down, you put your equity there, and now maybe you retire at 53 like I did, and go out and enjoy yourself.
So this may not be in your wheelhouse, but what about these reverse mortgages
Oh yeah.
that seem to be so popular?
Well, they're popular because they're gonna pay you, right,
Right.
for your mortgage, right? But nothing really, in my opinion, I'm not a fan of it.
Right.
It goes back to, again, being responsible with your own finances, to not put yourself in that situation. Every program that comes out like that, they're going to basically give you money, but I can assure you, unfortunately, one day when you pass, and that house has to be sold, that money's going to go back to them.
Sure.
So I tell people, don't fall for the okey doke. But if it benefits you, again, it's to each his own. But
Right.
if that's something that benefits you, great. But I would always talk to a realtor and a loan officer about that kind of stuff, because maybe you have a big old house. Maybe you should sell that house and buy down.
Right.
Put that equity in the bank and pay yourself. So there's everybody tries to take the easy way. When you talk to a realtor, we only want to help you.
Right.
Every realtor wants to help you. I want to help people. Any realtor you talk to, they want to help the people. That's why it's good to talk to us. And then we understand your situation, and we can say, here's what we think you should do. And again, talking to us like we're doing now, this is all free. This is all
Right.
just knowledge stuff. It's kind of like, oh, well, you know what? This is your situation. Let's go talk to this loan officer and let's see what we need to do. And now let me run the comps on your house, because maybe you shouldn't be doing a reverse mortgage. Maybe you should be selling, buying down, and then paying that off, and then putting a few $100,000 of equity in your house or in your bank account. But again, it's to each his own. Every situation is different. That's
Sure.
why it's good to tell us the right story, so we could give you going in the right
Well,
direction.
and that brings up a good point, because people don't want to admit, well, maybe I screwed up here, I screwed up
Right.
there. But if they're going to come to you and you're going to be their real estate agent, they need to be honest
They
with
gotta
you.
be honest with me,
and
absolutely.
because you can't really give them the best help that they can get
Right.
if they're not telling you the full story.
Right. Absolutely.
so-
So you want to be honest with us, but you also want to be honest with your loan officer as well.
Right.
Because there's certain things like that may qualify for income, right? So like if you're getting, say, getting alimony, does that qualify for income? So your loan officer will say, let me see all the money you got coming in. Okay, this is alimony. This is Social Security. This is my side job. Okay, so all this can count as income, which would help you get to your next level. Now, when certain payments go away, that's up to you to manage that as a person. So you just have to know your whole situation, and then be honest with your loan officer and your realtor, because we'll tell you, if this is your income, great. This is what you could afford to look at, great. So we'll stay within here. And then if something that's going to go away in a few years, like say alimony goes away, then you got to understand that won't be in your budget anymore. So do you do your budget based off of this alimony not being there anymore? So this way you understand, you set your search engine up to where you know what you can get. So a lot of people just have to be honest with themselves first, and then they need to be honest with us, and then we can help them out.
Yeah. So I mean, that was back when the I don't know if they're still doing it, where you could get in and get a loan that for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, you're only going to pay this much, which is a lot less. And then all of a sudden, 5 years from now, your payments are doubled or whatever. I forget what they're adjustable rate.
Yeah, they're ARMs. I call them ARMs.
Yeah, adjustable rate mortgage, right?
So the ARMs are interesting. I've used one time, but what you have to do with the ARM is you have to know your timeline. So I took I think it was a 5-year ARM, for example. I knew I had 5 years to do what I need to do in this house.
Right.
So I was either going to sell the house or refinance it.
Right.
Well, I happened to sell the house 4.5 years. So then I went and I just got me a fixed loan, just a standard loan. So now it's like you just have to understand the circumstances around the program you're getting. So if you're getting an ARM, you got to know that it's going to go up and your payment may double.
Right.
It may go down, and your payment may go down.
Right.
You just got to know it's coming.
But you don't know that.
You don't know that. But what you can do, again, you can work with your loan officer and say, look, can you keep me up to date on interest rates monthly? And they'll send you stuff to where you know where you're at.
Right.
And they'll show you what your house payment's projected to be if the interest rates continue to go up. So, but again, you have to know your timeline, because what a lot of people do is you get caught up in going to work, you get caught up in raising the kids and traveling and everything. You have to put notes now in your calendar on your phone where it pops up and says, hey, check your interest rate, or hey, it's the 1 year mark. Now it's a 2 year mark. Oh, it's year 4. I got 12 months now to figure it out. And by the way, the interest rates are going up. So now I think I need to look into refinancing. So there's just some responsibility that you got to take on when you take on those type of loans.
Yeah.
They're not fun. I prefer not.
No. It makes sense to me, but I mean, when they first became popular, it was a way for a lot of people to get into a house that they probably couldn't have gotten into otherwise.
Yeah.
And it also got a lot of people in trouble.
It did. So the pros and cons, right? The pro is it got you into your house, right? But if you weren't responsible, it would get you in trouble on the back end, and that's where you could possibly end up losing your house, foreclosing, and all that stuff. That's why yeah, get in, but you just got to understand you're on a timeline to either refinance or sell, which could either sell and go buy something bigger, depending on your equity,
Right.
or refinance and then get the payment at a comfortable, if the interest rate's right for you. But you could watch that interest rate any time, right? And then go 3 years, the interest rate's kind of, it's say 1% less. I'm gonna go ahead and refinance now, be done with it. And then so it's just some responsibility you got to take on as a homeowner.
So what do you see for the market for the next year or so? I mean, I know that's that's a tough question to ask, and I you know.
So I see the market. So right now we're getting close to summer.
Right.
So I kind of see what the experts are saying, right? 'Cause I go by what the experts, but my gut feeling is. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. That's okay. A little theme music, right?
Yeah.
So my gut feeling about the market is eventually we're going to get into a normal routine where as we get closer to summer, I think you're going to see some inventory open up.
Kids are getting out of school.
Kids are getting out of
selling
school.
out of the house. You're moving away.
Yeah,
you
you
know.
got kids going to college.
Right.
You got some folks saying, you know what, I think I want to downsize and I want to go into something smaller.
Yep.
So it depends what they can get. So you're having kids go to school, kids go away to college. Empty nesters are saying I don't need such a big house, so they may be inclined to sell.
Right.
The other thing is, it's not gonna blow up, but I think you're gonna see a happy medium. I think it'll get up to about 4 months supply from the 2.5. That's my opinion.
Right.
And so the trick in all this is during the pandemic, they were refinancing homes at 2%.
Right.
You're getting interest rates 2%, 1.9%.
Yeah.
So a lot of people took advantage of that. It's almost like now they're like, will you give that interest rate up to sell your house to now go get an interest rate somewhere else for 6.25%, 5.25%?
And that's not that much.
It's not that much.
I mean,
no.
we've seen it a hell of a lot higher than that in our lifetimes.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're up there.
Seen it up in the double digits and shit.
Yeah.
You know.
So the 6% versus the 1.5%, to a lot of people it's a big deal, right? So if you're sitting on a home mortgage with a 2.1 interest rate and your payment's $1,200, why would you sell to go get a house for more and then pay double the house payment or $900 more?
Right.
So that's the kind of the underliner that I'm looking at, that I'm thinking, okay, a lot of people's not really going to sell their house that have that small interest rate. So I could see those maybe turn into rental properties, maybe, because if you could get double the mortgage for rent, right?
Sure.
So, but I see about 4 months worth of inventory. I see it getting a little bit bigger. Then it'll kind of taper down towards the fall a little bit. And then I think going to holiday season, you'll see a look, not as much. I think maybe 3 months of inventory, 2.5 months, and then coming out of the new year next year, depending on the interest rates, is what people will do. So I think you're going to see, it should be a medium market. If anything, it'll go more towards the buying side, in my opinion. But I just think if you're out there right now renting, what you want to do is prepare yourself to buy and ask the free questions, take advantage of what's free. Go get pre-approved, look at your numbers. You can call me and I can help you out as well and get you set up on look at the inventory, and we can see what you're pre-approved for. But you want to take advantage of this time right now to prepare yourself to buy.
So you just told people to call you. How are they going to do that?
I can give them my card. Well, I can tell you my number here online.
Why don't you tell them your number?
Give me a call. So my number is 925-334-2419. You can give me a call. I'm Joe Waschuck with Century 21 Gavish Real Estate, located here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We serve Pahrump, Henderson, and the Las Vegas greater area. And I would love to have you give me a call. Just simply say you saw me on this TV show, and I'd be more than happy to help you out.
You'll get a 3% reduction in your if you tell them you saw it here. No. What we're kind of running out of time here. What advice would you give potential buyers if they're thinking about buying? Talk to me. Okay, so I'm thinking about buying a house here in the not too distant future, some within the next 6 months or something. What should I be doing? What should I be doing to make the whole thing easier?
Right now, I'd get all your bank statements that you need, get your bills paid up as much as you can.
Right.
And let me know, and I can give you a loan officer to contact.
Right.
And then maybe take it down to see her and say, hey, I'm thinking about buying a house in the next 6 months. I'd like to get pre-approved, or I'd like to see how I do on my pre-approval, what type of interest rate I get. And then, if anything, you'll get your feedback on, hey, you know what, you got your credit score is at 650, but if you can knock off a few of these bills, we can get you almost up to 700, and
Right.
you can get a better interest rate.
Gotcha.
That's one. The second thing is get in touch with a realtor. You can call me, and I can set you up on if you're thinking about, hey, I want a condo, okay, well, I can set you on a search for condos in certain areas that may desire to you, and then you can start getting emails to kind of see what's out there, and then when you get your pre-approval letter, you can kind of say, okay, here's what I'm pre-approved for, here's what's out there. You know what, I could spend this much, have a good budget, and I can get something that I want.
Right.
And then I can set you up on that. Then when you're ready to go out and look, I would say about 90 days we start going out and shopping and looking, because then it takes you anywhere from 30 to 40 days to close. So you want to allow yourself enough time
Gotcha.
to close.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
What should I not do?
What you should not do is basically wait till the last minute,
Yeah.
right, to call someone and say, hey, look, my lease is up in 30 days. I need to go buy a house.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't basically sit around and wait too long. You shouldn't have a plan. So you need to have a plan for yourself and get that timeline and be unprepared. So you should get all your stuff that you need to get pre-approved. This way, it's easier for you to go through the cycle of going out and looking for a house and buying a house. But I wouldn't go out and listen to the naysayers, or if you're out at dinner and have somebody go, well, you know what, I say don't buy yet because I know the market, or a friend of mine told me, or you're at happy hour and somebody's been too happy with the alcohol, they want to tell you all the things why not to buy. All the reasons you want to think all the reasons to buy. So don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to the unprofessionals. Listen to the professionals.
So if you're considering buying at all, or thinking about buying, whether you've made the decision or not, basically get a hold of a real estate agent.
Yep.
And if you got any brains, you'll get a hold of Joe, because Joe knows real estate.
That's right.
So and that way you can, just as you did here, you kind of walk the people through. So if there's anybody out there that is, thought, well, maybe it is the right time. Maybe I should buy a house now, because you've given them some information. And I think that's what most people lack. They don't really understand what a real estate agent does.
Right.
And until you've sat down to get through all the paperwork,
right.
And your title insurance and the title companies, and is the title clear, and what else can I look for?
Right.
That your real estate agent has already experienced,
right.
and can give you a heads up and say, hey, wait, don't do that, do
right.
this instead.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so, and I give one big recommendation to anybody out there, whether you're looking to buy or to sell, if you want to meet with a realtor. Always, if you want to meet with them, one, tell them when to call you, and then two, you want to meet with them at their office. This way you know they're legit, you know they're real, but you also see the work environment, you get a chance to meet their broker, and you can kind of see the cohesiveness with the team, okay? And then you can sit in there and go, hey, look, I just want to see the presentation of buying a house. Right now we're unsure, but we would definitely like to talk to you. And if you feel that camaraderie with that realtor and you say, look, you know what, we're about 90 days out, we need to get pre-approved, then that's when we can give you someone to get a hold of to get pre-approved. And then once you get pre-approved, then if you want to sign with us to go ahead and go out and look for a house, then we'd be more than happy to do that. We'll take it. I usually take clients out to see a house and meet with them,
right.
just as a courtesy, so they can kind of get a feel for me and see how I work and build a relationship. Outside that, you want to definitely get into the duty zone and buyer-broker agreement. So this
right.
way, you guys are contracted together to work together. Because what you don't want to do is work with this realtor, but then all of a sudden take off and go work with somebody else.
Yeah.
So you always want to do things ethical with each other.
Well, we unfortunately we are running out of time, but and we spent all this time talking about buying a house. I think I'm going to have you back and talk about from the seller's perspective.
Yep.
So, be able to come back here sometime in the near future and do that?
I can come back anytime you want me to come back.
All right. Yeah, okay. Say you're easy.
Yeah, I had a great time. This is a good time. Hope everybody enjoyed it, and I look forward to hearing from you again. My number is 925-334-2419. Thanks, and have a great day.
I dare you to call him. I think in my experiences with Joe, and he's not my real estate agent. I haven't bought a house or sold a house with him, but he was referred from somebody that I have a lot of respect for. And I think he gave us a lot of great information. And Joe's agreed to come back. We'll get the seller's side of the story. And remember, if you're going to do it with Styles. Thanks, everybody.
Nice work, John.